It is October 5th, 2022. Yeah, you keep your cot overnight. We have a 1 p.m. special meeting. So we're going to, we got to open it up with the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Brandon is standing up, so he's going to lead us if you wouldn't mind.
Great. Everybody please rise. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, yes, public participation. If you are online or in the room, we have agendas in the back with instructions, and also on Zoom. There are procedures as far as how to zoom in, call in, and participate. With that being said, we are going to have public comment on any, do we need public comment since this is a special board meeting? We don't need it. Good, perfect. Sure, okay. Well, then let's just jump right into it. So, Clerk of the Board, would you please read our appointments?
1 p.m. presentation by the North State Planning and Development Collective at California State University, Chico, on a comprehensive economic development strategy for the Central Sierra Economic Development District.
All right, and I believe they're on Zoom with us. Courtney, Melissa, great.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can't see you.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's see, Courtney.
Let us know when you want us to start.
Yeah, no, we're good. Feel free to take it away.
Okay, am I able to share? I'll share my screen. Can you let me know if you can see this?
Yes, we got it, Courtney.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, supervisors, staff, and partners. Thank you for the opportunity to come to you and present on the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy for 2023 to 2028. My name is Courtney Farrell, and I'm a project manager at the North State Planning Development Collective at Chico State. Our organization encompasses the Geographical Information Center, the Center for Economic Development, and 2 broadband consortia for Northern California. And on the line with me is also my colleague Melissa Kovacs, who is helping us lead up this project. And this is in partnership with Chabin Concepts and Fawn McLaughlin. All of our organizations have participated in a number of SEDS, and I'm going to just kind of walk through what this is, where we are, and what the next steps are. So as you can see on the screen, as you're probably aware, the Central Sierra Economic Development District encompasses these counties and jurisdictions. Every 5 years, the Economic Development Administration requires our districts and other partners to create this 5-year strategic plan, this economic development plan. So just quickly, what is a SEDS? Like I mentioned, it's a 5-year strategy-driven plan. It really encompasses the county and the region as a whole, what your vision is, what the goals are, how to not only improve your economic systems, and how to work on workforce development issues and other components that really will help strengthen the economies in the future of your region. One of the key things to keep in mind is that this strategy is not meant to replace or work against any of your current local strategies or plans. And so if you currently have a county plan, which we know some of the jurisdictions do, it really is to leverage that work and work in tandem and really support those efforts and take it a step further. The other things that it's really important for is that it informs statewide initiatives. You may have heard of the Community Economic Resilience Fund, or SURF, which is a governor's initiative that is to create an economic development plan for the 13 regions throughout the state as a result of the pandemic. This is underway right now, and conveners for the regions are being determined. The purpose of SURF is to really work with the SEDS and to work, again, leveraging that and work on top of that. And so it's good timing that your SEDS will be completed. And I'll go through the timeline in a minute. So that right as SURF is about to start, because that will really help to inform the work that needs to happen over that next 24-month process. Other initiatives are things like the Regional Climate Collaboratives. The other thing too is that this really works, especially on a regional level. It's really to identify and strengthen the capacity for greater collaboration, again, leveraging resources that other entities or other jurisdictions may have that maybe you do not, and then really to really build upon those skills. The other thing too is that this is a public engagement process, and so that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to make sure that you're informed and up to date on this, and if there's other ways that we can ensure that your communities, residents, and business owners are a part of this. So the timeline, we did start a few months ago. So this is where we are right now, currently in October. We have issued a survey region-wide, and we're happy to distribute that again so that we can continue that process of community engagement. We've just completed data collection for the economic conditions section, which we're working on. That will also be provided to you as an appendix in the SEDS. And so this is some of the most current public data that's available by county so that you can be able to see that. We're currently working on the completion of SWOT. The other thing I should mention is that your last 2017 to 2022, or 2017's strategic plan that was done, our office was also engaged in that. And so we are looking at what was presented before, especially in terms of the SWOT, doing a comparison to see if things, what things are the same, what things may have changed, and we can integrate those together. One of the key pieces, though, is for us to develop that strategy and action plan for you. So to really identify the things that with, again, community involvement, with the SEDS committee, which is made up of the Central Sierra Board, with all of you, to give that input to say, yes, these are the things that we want to apply. These are the best practices maybe from other areas, and this is how we want to implement moving forward. Our plan is to have a plan of a draft plan by late November in December. The things that will include, as you can see in the November section, is those visions and goals, looking at potential infrastructure needs, development opportunities, what's the current climate, and again, developing that plan, which will be presented in December. That will give the opportunity for a 30-day public comment period. Once that is closed, we will then take that feedback, integrate it into the plan, and then it goes to Economic Development Administration, or EDA, for their 30-day review. Our goal is to have a finalized plan by March of 2023. So again, this process really is community informed and asset based. And so, like we mentioned, launched a survey in August 2022, which we have sent out. We've done a press release. We provided it to our committee members, but we're happy to share that with you again if you would like to send it out to try to have a further reach. And as you can see, some of the things that we've already gleaned from this information is just the assets in terms of like natural resources, recreational values, and then we move through the line of challenges, opportunities, and ultimately that will all tie into that action plan, which will then be adopted in areas where either jurisdiction, maybe there's working subgroups that could implement those plans and work together over the next 5 years. These are just some of the critical issues that we have been hearing. The other thing I should mention is, in addition to the surveys, is that Vicki and Fawn have been leading up individual interviews. So it's kind of taken that survey to the next level. We've had people that were recommended that we should interview. We've had people volunteer through the survey. We've had people who have attended some of our SEDS committee meetings, which are public, and said they would like to talk with us. So that's just giving us another deeper dive into really understanding the issues and needs of your region. And so you can see sort of the different categories. This is not necessarily unique to your region. So I guess that's somewhat good, somewhat, kind of shows you this, where the state sits as a whole. These are very consistent themes and sort of the issues that we're hearing throughout multiple regions across the state. Another piece of this too to identify is that resilience component. This is new. In the last few years, EDA has added this as a required component of the SEDS. And so these are things to really help us as economic development practitioners and those leading this sector, is to really understand, how do we prepare for disaster? All of our counties, unfortunately, have endured catastrophic fires over the last few years, coming out of the pandemic, now dealing with drought and other climate related issues. What are the things that we can be paying attention to that could potentially plan for to maybe have a better mitigation, moving forward? If we are in a disaster, how do we handle that? And then how do we recover from that? So that's a key component that we will include as well. And we'll build upon again, the unfortunate experiences that many of our communities have gone through in the last 4 years. Again, of course, one of the other key things is housing. We're hearing that across the board, especially worker housing. And then how do we create those talent pipelines, career pathways? What are the things that could be worked on between industry and maybe education and our vocational training that could help enhance those pipelines so that we have a more robust workforce? And that's it. We promise to keep it short and sweet. So if you have any questions or comments or feedback, we're happy to take those now, or any other conversation you'd like to have around this.
Thank you, Courtney. That was short and sweet, and appreciate that. I'm going to open it up to the board if there's any clarifying questions on the SEDS and what was presented. So I'm gonna look to my left. Yeah, I see Supervisor Brandon has some questions.
Hi, Courtney. Thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask, so obviously there's kind of a huge overlap, as mentioned, with SURF funding, but then 5 of those 7 counties, and probably the 5 most closely aligned, are in the CSEDD district. So how do we plan moving forward when the SURF discussions are coming up to make sure that this plan integrates with that?
Yeah, excellent question. So one of the things, while the conveners have not been publicly announced yet at the state level, we know that Sierra Business Council for the Central Sierra and the Eastern Sierra were an applicant for the SURF. And so we have been working. So we're also my organization is also an applicant right now for our region. So we've been very intimately involved in the SURF process and really understand what it's supposed to be. So we've been working very closely with Sierra Business Council, not only in our regions to have that interregional collaboration, but then to make sure that they're informed of what's happening with SEDS. And so Steve Frisch has been attending our committee meetings. So he's heard all of the conversation, the data that we've collected. We're making sure that that's working cohesively together. And he's also very aware that, I guess, appreciative of the timeline, that the fact that SEDS will be wrapping up just about the time when you'll be at that first stage of the SURF process. We are hoping that within the SURF process, we're in contracting by November. And so, when that plays out with contracting, first of the years is January is when that will really kick off. But again, we have been in close communication and work together on that, and really want to make sure that those processes are informing each other.
Great, that's excellent to hear. One other question on that, I wanted to ask, under the opportunity and SWOT assessment, how are we trying to incorporate where there may be funding and I think the political direction at the state to make sure what we would like to see is aligning with the money that's going to be able to make it happen?
Perfect question too. Yes. So that is part of the section that we will be including, is really once we identify sort of, what the objectives are and what are those critical projects that, will definitely move things forward, is then aligning that with funding. So part of Melissa and my job for our organization is that we're development specialists. And so we are tracking the funding all the time. That's part of our job. And to also making sure that those state initiatives are identified, at least at the time that we know. And the other thing too is with SEDS is that this is, should be an ongoing process. And so, just because the plan is developed, that doesn't mean that the discussion and work on it should stop, when that plan is finished. So as things come up, and again, I think that's where SURF is going to be really critical, because we will all, even statewide, be talking together all the time to, again, making sure, especially our rural communities, that we're prepared. I know even in our region, being shovel ready is often a challenge because of capacity and resources. And so I think the more that all of our interregional partners can leverage that and help share that information, that's going to be a real key component to actually being really effective on all of this work over the next 24 months.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Any questions over here? Hey, Courtney, I have maybe 1 or 2 questions. You mentioned
Sure.
that we do a 5-year plan. The last one was 2017. Was there any prior to that?
So it is every 5 years. So honestly, I'd have to go back and look. I don't know I think for as long as the district is established, it is required by EDA to have those 5-year plans. So, I mean,
Okay.
we could ask Central Sierra what has been done previously. I just know that is a requirement. And right where you are right now is that you're just at the tail end of that last one. And so that's why the timing was triggered to do a new one.
Okay, and if I'm a constituent in Tuolumne County and, board members are reaching out, asking the community to get involved and give their input, like when I look at PDF 4 out of 6, we talk about assets, challenges, opportunities. Those are all things that our community has known for years. Our board has known of issues for years. What's the difference between, say, the 2017 goals and where we're headed now with goals? What's going to be the difference as far as actually getting some things accomplished and action items? Is it because of the amount of funding that's now available, or what would be the best way to relay that information?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, I do think there's that. I think, we're all seeing unprecedented amounts of funding that we haven't seen. I've been doing this for 20 years and the funding is a game changer. I think it's really important now for that collaboration to make sure that if you have a project or community that is falling a little bit behind, is that to identify, and this, I think some of the things that we need to do in the SEDS is to identify what that's going to take to get it to that place of being able to apply, because we know that that's a problem. And I think too, coming out of, I don't know, I mean, the disasters, it's something that we've looked at. It's something that, it's something we're living through in our communities as residents and business owners, and that huge impact that it has every time we have to go through this every season. Is really those mitigation efforts too, and to identify those funding sources that can help with that.
Okay.
I don't know, I hope that helps.
have a question.
And we do have a question from Supervisor Half.
Yeah, hi, Courtney. I wanted to ask, you had mentioned that the survey is being conducted and it's going to conclude in October, if I understood you correctly?
We haven't set yeah, I mean, that's our goal because we will start drafting the plan. We are working on that now, but yeah, at least open for the next few weeks. We're happy to do that so that we can ensure that we're capturing as much from feedback as possible.
And you mentioned you could send it to us. I'd like to see it.
Absolutely. I can send you the link, and then we also have a PDF. So if people can do it online, that's great. If access or that's not the best way, we also have that version. So I will send that out after this meeting.
Okay, and so for this whole region, how many respondents have you gotten so far?
For the region, we've received over 200. I could also look and see what the breakdown is specifically for Tuolumne.
Okay, well, for that big of a region, 200 is not enough, and I can guess that most of the constituents in our county don't know anything about this. So how can we help you launch this to get greater participation?
So yes, that's what we need. That's another reason why we're here. We've tried. Part of the challenge is when we launched this, we know that a lot of the fires were happening too. So that, that was a challenge. So we can if you could help send it out to your constituents. We have a press release that accompanies it too. We're open if someone wanted to contact us to ask questions. So we can definitely get those tools to you. And I know, like I said, we did launch this, and when we did, we were aware that it was also during the fires. And so that's also why we kind of wanted to circle back.
Okay.
And get that information out again.
Okay, great. And I would ask one thing further, if you have any kind of graphic that can accompany the information, if it can be in a JPEG form or something that's helpful to post on social media, that would be awesome.
And
yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
just on that note, we did, I believe Courtney's aware, on August 19th, my mother-in-law did post the survey. I sent the information to him. So I think that's where the majority of the actual responses came back, was from the My Mother Low post. But I mean, I agree, the more the better, but I'll forward this to the board as well, just so they could potentially share this news story.
Thanks.
Supervisor Brandon had another question.
Great, thank you. And this is off Supervisor Kirk's point about the previous 5-year plans. As part of this, and what are we doing differently? What does it look like now? Will there be an analysis of whether we were able to achieve those goals, what the metrics were, what things end up not happening, and maybe do that over the last, let's say, 2, 3, 5-year plans?
That's a good question. We can definitely, so that we would work with the Central Sierra district to have a good understanding of that. So yes, we will definitely look into that. I know, and like I said, we are looking at, and Lisa, from the SWOT analysis of, that is a piece of it, of what we're looking at is what was identified and proposed but we can look at an inventory of what's actually been accomplished and maybe what's still left.
Great, thank you. And I think just in looking at that, what I would like to be able to receive is, let's say, the previous 5-year plan, for example. Were we able to meet the goal or in progress to meet the goal? Is that where we expect it to be? What challenges it may run into, and just a very honest appraisal of not just the wins, but where it didn't work and why.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Yeah, I have more questions from board members.
Sorry, just, when I'm looking at the slide with critical issues under jobs,
Yes.
workforce, aging population, Tuolumne County certainly fits that. We're
Yeah.
close to 40%, 60 and above. But the second part of that same line, the stagnant talent pipeline, I'm just curious to hear where you're going with that, because in the rural areas, being able to, recruit and have people, especially younger people,
Yeah.
just kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, so some of the things, so we're similar in the North State. We, like I said, a lot of the challenges really correlate. Some of the things that we've been looking at, and we can propose this as a practice to maybe think about, is we've really started to engage our community college districts more. And one of the things, especially that my colleague Melissa has head up, is to really understand, one of the recommendations we would do is to really have an analysis of what your employer's needs are. And we have done some of that, I think, in the interviewing, but to take that a step further. And I know that your community colleges would be potentially really engaged with that. And we may have some data too that we can share. But really, it should be industry led, and to make sure that your educational and vocational trainings are meeting the needs of your employers. And then also, how does that correlate with your populations? The other thing we'll have too is migration and looking at those types of things. And two, the development aspect is like, what do you have currently? What, that it's kind of going back to that place-based economic development idea of, what else do we need to also keep our youth in our regions, and what opportunities can we do a better job of making sure that they know and they're aware of? We found that in our region that, we have right now, we have too many jobs and not enough applicants. And what we're finding is that even our younger generation, there's a lot of opportunities that they just don't know. Or they're in communities that they don't know that they could go an hour over to maybe another town where there's a community college and access that and either still stay or help grow that. So those are some of the things that we can recommend just from our best practices and things that we've experienced. And we'll dig deeper into the debt where we just finished collecting all the data. So we're kind of at the, we're right on the forefront of really diving into that too, to kind of see where the trends are.
Yeah, and thank you, Courtney, because the community college and looking at vocational and the trades, and like you mentioned, industry led, where are the needs, and but it ties in many other areas, including housing being a big issue.
Yeah, well, and that, and that's something too. It's really understanding the true status of the housing data, and then to acknowledge that too, is that's the affordable housing component statewide is a real issue, whether that's for students, whether it's for just worker housing, but just to really. And I don't know that we have the solution to that yet either. I think that's something we're that we're trying to tackle as well. But it kind of goes back to the initial question too, of where are the opportunities in terms of funding and state resources that potentially could be tapped into to try to help to tackle that, because as you know, it's a statewide problem.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your efforts in looking at all those areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further board member questions, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's any public comment in the room, and I see there is some. So. Zoom, okay.
Yeah, hi, Courtney. This is Tom Crosby. I'm with the Tuolumne County Business Council, and I think we'd be very interested in doing a deeper dive into the material you're developing and participating with input. So I'll get with local staff here and get contact information. But I'd really like to I'm really interested in what kind of survey output you already have from our county, and because I don't want to duplicate effort, But I do want to make
Okay.
sure it's broadened and current. So looking forward to that connection. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, we definitely welcome that, and thank you. So yes, however we can get connected, that would be really valuable to us.
I'm connecting you right now.
Thank you.
There you go. Any other public comment in the room? All right.
It just came through. Thank you.
And any on Zoom? We do have one on Zoom.
Hi there.
Hello.
Thank
Good morning.
you.
You're on.
Um,
Afternoon.
Hello. Yes, at first glance, I haven't really researched a whole lot, but I looked up the Central Sierra Economic Development District, and it appears to have a partnership with the Sierra. It has many partnerships, but it appears to have also one with the Sierra Camp for a collaborative effort for a resilient environment. And here again, as with the Climate Action Plan, one of their goals of this partnership is to educate and engage in equitable climate solutions. And when I read the words equitable, sustainable, resiliency, stakeholders, I know to start paying attention to where the funding is coming from and the relationship with the Sustainable Development UN 2021 and 2030 agendas.
Mhm.
So as you research and study the Climate Action Plan and all the implications, please keep in mind all of these relationships, and
Yes.
which lead to one goal, which is the global political process of regionalizing the country. And the way to enable a shadow government is to evolve is by promoting the reinvention of government through their support and appointments to regional boards that act like Soviet councils. And these councils are funded to implement Agenda 21 and 2030, so we don't have to go alone. And lastly, regionalism restructures or reinvents the operation of American government by destroying traditional political boundaries, such as county lines, and ushers in a transformed system of governance that ultimately abolishes private property and the rights of the individual. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the comments. Do you have anybody else on Zoom? Okay. All right, I'll bring it back to the board if there's any further comments. I see Supervisor Brandon.
I guess I'll kick that off. Great. Courtney, I wanted to ask, one of the big things is outdoor recreation and our beautiful environment and history. So I want to ask, is there specific outreach to the state parks within the CSEDD?
I will have to check to see if we have. If not, one of the things that we're looking at is that tourism component. And so one is also understanding, which you all probably, I'm sure, are very familiar with, is land ownership. So whether it's public or private. So thank you for bringing that up, though. We'll definitely go back and look and see if we've had any outreach. If not, that it can be a conversation that we can have.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be huge. I know hospitality tends to focus on a lot of private and lodging establishments. Each state park tends to have their own improvement plans. Those improvements can attract more tourism and more visitors as well, and kind of continue to polish some of the really great things we have here. I also wanted to, and this question from earlier, I think, so in looking at this, we just attended recently the RCRC conference for rural counties. Talking about economic development, there was a big focus on in rural areas with the challenges we face. How do we enter into more cooperative arrangements with neighbors to be able to, I think, have a larger plan that applies to everybody? I know that we're probably going to have a laundry list of things to say, we want this, we want this, we want this. How is that pulled together into kind of systems of economic development between the counties versus a series of projects within the 5 counties?
No, that's a great question. I was at RCRC as well, so I appreciate the comment. I mean, some of the things that I'll give you one example. One of the things, and I know you're also undergoing currently right now your broadband mapping, your broadband plan. Also, I believe with the similar county footprints. Some of the things that we advocate as the broadband consortia for our region is that if it's like a suggestion could be a master plan agreement, or if there's a cross jurisdictional policy and permitting that can happen. So especially when you have infrastructure projects that move forward, what we hear a lot either from developers or ISPs, that's where the challenge hits. It's like, we're plugging along and then we hit a jurisdictional boundary and it just halts everything. So those are like one angle to be looking at. It is something, I think, again, which does have, the positive impact of regionalism and collaboration. It's one to get to a place where your jurisdictions can have those conversations and to find ways that you can work better together. I think that also, so I think a thing to keep in mind through all of this is that as like a question like that, or suggestions, or a direction that's given and said, is to really think about in SURF, the next step is that implementation fund. Statewide, there will be $600 million. We don't know yet what that means. We don't know if there will be allocation by county, region, if it'll be competitive. But again, kind of going back to where are the pots of funding coming, is to think about what are the resources that are needed, because again, capacity is always an issue, right? So if you identify ways that your jurisdictions can work better together, what's going to be needed to make that happen? And again, I will comment on infrastructure as a big issue, because that's often where the challenge is. The other thing too is your policy development. If you all adopt similar policies, and I know that that's hard. We've had a couple wins in our region, again, going back to broadband, where we had multiple jurisdictions adopt a similar, like especially the Dig Smart policies. It takes hard work, but when you do that, from a development perspective, things just move so much faster. So those would be like an example I could give. I don't know if that fully answers your question.
No, it really does. Thank you, Courtney. Music to my ears. I think jurisdictionalism and then the unnecessary red tape that just kind of gets in the way, two different codes. That's something that I'd really like to see as much as we can broken down and streamlined. I also want to ask, so within the CSEDD, we have a 5-county district. Obviously, we're looking inwards at how we can work together. How is CSEDD also looking at the surrounding economic development districts where there's a partnership there? So say, for example, we have a lot, with our border there with the Central Valley, to interactions with them.
So that's also a good question. So, obviously I don't want to speak for CSED, but one of the things we've identified, and I think they would agree with, is their capacity. And so a recommendation that we're making and talking with their SURF process is there a way, because the planning portion of SURF really is supposed to be about capacity building, and that seems to be a central organization that would benefit not only internally but externally if they have that, are having that capacity built. And so again, if they could play a more robust role in that, and then also then again, I know that there was some controversy around the SURF regions being defined, but it did create these regions. And so the more that those regions can work together, it'll benefit everyone. It'll benefit the entire state. And just for you all to know, there is which the conveners the proposed conveners are sitting on, is a statewide network where we talk regularly. So the regions are communicating on such a larger scale than they ever have in the past, that I think that could also potentially inform organizations like Central Sierra to just know, again, like, here's some areas you can work on, here's some opportunities. But again, it all ties back to funding.
That's great. Well, I wanted to encourage reaching out to, I think, the neighboring districts, maybe have small group discussions. They may be further in the process, but I think it would inform our efforts to know what some of them are doing, especially when we're talking about infrastructure, workforce development programs, things like that, educational programs. We have a Columbia College is in my district up in Tuolumne County. One of the places they would end up going would be probably CSU Stanislaus or to UC Merced, and making sure that we're able to facilitate that between economic development districts. So that did answer my question, and thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome. Yeah, that interregional collaboration is really critical. And I think that this is something we're seeing where we haven't seen that in the past. So I think it's a different time. And it's a huge opportunity for the entire state.
Okay, Courtney, I was getting the eyes from the other supervisors. There's no other, no other further comments. I did write down here, though, I did hear a couple of requests. It looked like some of us would like to, if you could email the 2017 plan, just to
Yes, oh, sure.
have something to
That's no
reference.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the survey tools, the press release and social media around that. And if there's other things that come up that you didn't think of, please feel free to reach out to us.
Awesome. Okay, and my clerk is asking that she be included in that email as well.
Oh, absolutely. And she's been fabulous. So yes,
Awesome.
my pleasure.
Cool.
Heather.
Miss Heather, yes. Okay, well,
Yes.
unless there is, I'm not seeing any other comments, so I believe that means we are done. Our shortest board meeting ever, perhaps. Yay, after a long
Well,
mission.
I appreciate
I got
you all
claps in
taking
the
the
audience. Courtney, you did awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, thank you for the time and the space and for making a special meeting for us. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to working with you over the next few months.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Have a
Okay,
good day.
Take care.
All right, bye.
You too.
All right, so that will adjourn. I'll adjourn our meeting at 1:36. Thank you, folks, for being here with us.